Hey guys, welcome back to the show today. I have an amazing guest. This is a personal friend of mine. She's out of Jackson, Mississippi. And if you know anything about Jackson, you know a lot about cash flow. And that's one of the best cash flow markets in the country. And this individual can prove that with what she's been doing. She's bought almost 40 rental properties in a very short amount of time. She's going to show you exactly how she does it. So guys, let me introduce you to Cindy Crane.
Hey, Connor.
How you doing?
Glad to be on the show today.
I'm glad to have you on here, Cindy. So a lot of people are impressed with what you've been able to do over the past few years, and I kind of want to go over, how you got into real estate and what made you just jump in, and then how you've been able to do so well and create a portfolio for yourself, and kind of, the type of numbers you're looking at down there in Jackson, because a lot of people are interested in some of these cash flow markets, maybe even turnkey rentals, and then some of the troubles and struggles that you've had as far as the successes. So go ahead and tell people a little bit about yourself and how you kind of jumped into the real estate world.
Well, I live in a small town in central Mississippi, about an hour from Jackson. And we grew up with cows and horses, and our dad worked, and we learned how to work growing up. Went to college and kind of figured out, didn't know my way. So I bought some rental houses about 10 years ago in my neighborhood to try to protect my property, my property next door. And then I just knew I wanted to learn about real estate. I'd always loved real estate. I found a guy who would hire me to work on some houses. When I got divorced, I had to have a job, even with my college degree. So I went to work on antebellum homes in central Mississippi, driving nails for $6 an hour. So with my college degrees. But I wanted to learn, and I think that's part of the key to my success where I am is I did what I had to do. And I think that's really important for people. But and then I came to the Jackson Real Estate Group meetings and met Walter Wofford, and that I think was another turning point in my life. Is the group of people that he associated himself with. I just kind of hung around till he put me to work, and he started a bird dog class, and that's what started me on my path. Is he was a really good teacher, and he's brilliant, and he spent a lot of time teaching us about South Jackson and property values. For the first year, I probably thought every house was only worth $5,000 because that's what he always said, So I was like the little repeating magpie, $5,000. And he went to Europe for about 3 weeks, and he at first wanted me to do clerical work, and I thought, man, I'd rather be outside on a roof or digging a ditch or something than sit behind a desk in an office. I'm an outside person. But I did it. I was like, I'll do whatever Walter wants me to do because I want to learn from him. He's a mentor. So I told him, I said, I work for no money. I work for no pay. And he said, no, you figure out how much you want. And we met down at our South Jackson office, also known as McDonald's, and went over the paperwork. And then he went to Europe, and he said he handed me an envelope one day, and it had signed blank checks and some deeds that needed recording. And he said, I got 5 houses. I need you to do something while I'm gone. And I'm like, this look of terror had to come over my face. And he said, you got rental houses. Just do what you would do. And he said, I'm wrong 50% of the time anyway. So you know how Walter is. He's just a roll with the punches, good guy. And so he went to Europe, and I took care of business. I sold 2 of the houses, rented the others, and managed the jobs that we had going. And I think he decided I was worth more to him in different aspect than doing clerical work. So then we do a lot of owner financing houses there in Jackson to good tenants with credit trouble. And so I started working with the buyers, helped on the buy side, learned about land trust, learned about seller finance, contracts, everything. It was just on the job training, and it was invaluable. As you know, you know a lot of the same people I know in our group, and it's been awesome to watch you progress in the last year. You've been like a rock star, like a star shooting through the sky. So I'm excited for you.
Appreciate that, guys. We'll give a shout out to Walter Wofford. So he's in the Jackson market as well. He's been an inspiration to a lot of us, including myself. He partners with Quincy Long from Quest IRA, and they have their Financial Friends Network. And it's a great group of individuals. And guys, we go on trips all the time. You'll get to meet Cindy, Walter, Quincy, myself, everyone really. And guys, I want to point out what you just said there. So the reason why she was able to basically get into a situation working with someone that could help change her life was she was willing to do whatever it took. She was willing to go do clerical work. She was willing to work for free. She basically just said everything that I taught y'all, and this is ironic that you said this because literally, if you look at the video we put out on our YouTube channel 2 days ago, I said don't ever take an investor to lunch or a mentor to lunch. And basically, what I was explaining is, the process on how you actually go about getting a mentor. And you did exactly what I teach people to do, which is go offer value instead of coming from a place of selfish need, which is what a lot of people do. They're like, well, let me take you to lunch, right? Let me take you to lunch. Well, what you're saying to that potential mentor is this, your time's only worth $10 to me. Let me stop your whole day and come meet with me. And even though like most people pay you $500 for consulting an hour, come to lunch for $10 with me and teach me everything you know. And then I'm going to go compete against you in your own market. That's what most people think is the best way to go about it. But what she did was she went to Walter. She found out where he was. She knew that he was someone that she could benefit working with. And she didn't say, I'm just going to go take and take and take. She went and put in the time, worked for free. And now look at her. Now she's got almost 40 rental properties, guys. 40. How many of y'all have been in the business for 15, 20 years and you still only got 5 or 6? So what's your excuse? So guys, I want to talk about low-end properties, Jackson, Mississippi. And yes, she really did say $5,000 a house. And they are buying houses for under $10,000 there regularly. Tell them about y'all's market, because I think it blows people's mind when they hear about Detroit or Birmingham or especially Jackson.
Well, Jackson is the capital city of Mississippi. It's right in the center of the state, and there's a huge working class economy. That's the capital, so we have a lot of government jobs. We have a lot of hospital healthcare jobs, and we do have some manufacturing, some plants. So there's a lot of people who need, we filled a niche because there's a lot of people, as you know, that have credit problems. It doesn't mean they're bad people. They just don't have somebody to say, hey, don't co-sign for your kid's car, or don't let your brother use your ID to get Comcast, and he never pays the bill. But they're good people. And so that's the market that Walter predominantly targets. I have more rental houses because I'm looking for active, like cash flow, passive income, and Walter is, working on his tax-free retirement account. So he does more owner finance into that group of people. So I think it's a neighborhood, that area in Southwest Jackson is kind of in transition. So a lot of the older people are moving out, and there's a lot of young people in there. And that gives us a really good opportunity to buy houses at just, incredible. It's nothing to me, but when I talk to people from other parts of the country, they're like, you can buy a house for that much money and it rents for that much money. Typically I would say, on average, you could buy a 3-1, and we could buy a 3-bedroom, 1-bath house, a good house that doesn't need that much work, for about $15,000. Put a little, you might have to, we might have to replace the condenser or, paint and carpet. But even if you put $5,000 in there, we still got a 3-1 at $20,000 that rents for $700, a minimum of $700, and we can get a good tenant for $700.
Yeah, so like if you have the ability to fund that with your own cash, guys, you're going to basically be free and clear in 2 to 4 years for most of these houses, and then it's unbelievable. So, when you started, did you have a bunch of money when you started the business, or did you basically start from the ground up, or how are you financing these deals? Because a lot of people that start in real estate, they get the big buzz, they watch the flipper flopper shows on TV, they go to their boot camps, right? And then they realize, I don't have $50,000 to pay a training company, even if those $50,000 gurus were even going to help them. And then they realize, I got to start from the ground up. So they usually look at wholesaling, but you can bypass that wholesaling stage, guys, and jump right in if you know how to raise money. So how are you funding these deals?
So, Connor, I have not put any of my own money in any of the almost 40 properties that I own. So it can be done. And I'm a girl. Absolutely. And I can do it, It's the power of the network. Like you said, about me volunteering to work for Walter. Now, he eventually did pay me to be a trustee and pay me when I would get a tenant, but I did work lots. But it wasn't about the money. It was about my future. That's what I was working for. I wasn't working for cash. I knew that all that would come in time. Cash is good, and I like to eat, but I did. It was the power of the network. So Walter has the Financial Friends Network, the cruises that we go on. And he has events there in Jackson and other events where you can network with people who have their retirement accounts at companies like Quest that they will loan as a self-directed means of investment. And so that's what would happen is I would meet people and they would know that I worked with Walter. So I had an instant connection and had some credibility because of my relationship with Walter. And then they knew my background, that I knew about houses, and I'd worked on houses as a carpenter's helper and painted for years. And so they trusted me. And that's, I guess, a big issue is trust. And then to look at our market and to know that we have such great value there, and that we're making a difference in our community as well, by making houses and neighborhoods better. So people trusted me, and they would lend money out of their IRA to me to buy properties, and then I pay them back at a good rate of return.
Yeah, guys. So literally, one person can really impact your life and change your life. Now, having a good mentor can do that for you, but really, you have to have two parts. You have to have a good mentor, and then you have to be an individual who has strong integrity, strong ethical nature, and you have to have a relentless work ethic. So you have to be able to not only just being around a mentor is not going to make you successful. You still have to be a person that acts upon the principles of success yourself, and then follow through with energy and take what you learn from them. So if you want to meet someone like Walter or Cindy or even myself, y'all can go ahead and check out. I don't know if the Alaska cruise is booked up, but there's some coming to where we're going in the Caribbean in early next year in 2018. Guys, go ahead and check out the Financial Friends Network and see what they have to offer. Plus, if you haven't heard of Quest IRA, Quincy Long runs Quest IRA and is good friends with Cindy. And, a lot
Today's his birthday.
Yeah, go call. Well, we're not going to release this today, but I was going to say go call him and say, hey, what's up? But, guys, Quincy told me, when was it? I guess when we were in Costa Rica, Quincy told me that there's like over $200 million sitting in Quest IRA accounts of people who want to self-direct that money into real estate, but they don't have anybody to bring those deals to them. They don't know how to get that money in play, which just blows my mind, because you see these two spectrums. You have over here, you have all these investors that complain and complain and complain. Oh, well, I have nobody lend on my deals. There's no money. I can't find it. And then you got all these people that have all this money, and they're like, I don't have any deals. And so that's what the Financial Friends Network does. It puts two people together. And actually, believe it or not, Cindy, when you introduced me to Steve Courtney, he's actually lent on multiple houses for me since the last cruise that we went on. And, I'm paying him a good rate of return, and I've done very well on those houses. So I do appreciate that. And so, guys, that's the way the power of the network works. Now, let's get back to how Cindy basically took over Jackson, building up a massive portfolio. So typically, you're financing these properties with private money. Are you doing debt-based financing where they're loaning you on an amortized schedule, or are you doing joint ventureships, or how do you kind of go about structuring? Are you doing both, or are you financing any with your own cash now?
No, so probably for the most part of 2016, the houses I bought 30 houses last year.
Wow.
So for somebody I turned 54 this year. I like to say I'm 25 because real estate gave me this gray hair, but I'll be 54 in a few weeks. But I bought 30 houses last year, and I'm a girl in the South doing it. So it can be done. You just got to have good people to be around, like Connor and Walter and Quincy and the people in the Financial Friends Network. But of those 30 I bought last year, I would say that the majority of them, 20 of them I bought with debt finance with borrowed money from private lenders through Quest. And then the others, I kind of had a mix based on what Quincy and some others had suggested, is doing joint ventures, where the partners, after I had a track record, they wanted to get involved in Jackson. And so they wanted to be the money partner, and I was the catalyst. I was the person on the ground, finding the houses, making the deals, doing the paperwork, getting the rehab done, getting the property rented. They put up all the money, and I did all the work. And that's been a great mix for me. And that's what I certainly would suggest for somebody getting started, as a good way to get in with no money.
I'll tell you what, guys, a lot of y'all are listening at home are going to be hearing this in the future. And a lot of y'all heard her just say she bought 30 houses in a year. You better step your games up, because, a lot of y'all are making excuses, and it's all about self-limiting beliefs. And, I see this a lot. And, what you just pointed out is she didn't start until later in her life really trying to build her portfolio. And I see this on both sides of the spectrum. People that are really young, who are 18 years old, their limiting belief is, I'm too young. Nobody's going to want to sell me their house. Nobody's going to want to work with me. Why would anybody work with me? And then on the other side, it's like, well, even if I start now, I don't have enough years to build a portfolio. I don't have, if I finance the house on a 30-year loan, it's not going to pay off until, I'm long and gone. But even if you're going to do that, you still have a family, most of y'all, or you still have friends that you can still benefit your community. So guys, there's still a reason to be successful in the business. But She just proven that it doesn't take that long. And I've dealt with this issue trying to get my own parents into real estate for a long time now. And, my dad's retirement agent, his excuse is this, I'm too old. It's going to take me too long. And she just bought 30 houses in a year, guys, how many, most of y'all will never buy 30 houses in your lifetime. And she just did it in a year. So you shouldn't have any excuses. So how are you finding some of these deals so they can kind of, maybe mimic and emulate what you're doing? Because I know a lot of people are struggling to find deals. What's your best way of getting these deals?
Well, I'll say one thing about what you said earlier, Connor, is the 30 houses in that year. I just, there is no plan B for me. So I just I'm a big fan of Grant Cardone, and I like taking massive action. And like you and I were talking a little bit earlier, if things are going bad and you think things are not going your way, you know what? You just get up that day and you figure out something to work on, and you take some sort of forward positive action, and things will eventually turn your way. Even if you have a bad day or bad week, you just keep moving. You just don't quit, and you make yourself do something every day. And most of those loans that I have, so they're talking about, and I know a Jack Harper, who's another guy in Jackson that's a really sharp investor. He said, Cindy, because I financed most of mine for between 5 and 8 years. And so he said, 5 years will be gone before you know it, so, and that's true. When you're older, it seems like a long time, but it really is not. When you're young, that's the spot in time. But so in 5 to, 8 years, and who maybe I'll pile up, and pay the others off early. I hadn't got there yet, but it doesn't take a long time to make a difference. If you want it, and you have your why, what you want to do.
Well,
if you want to help your community or whatever your plan is.
Yeah, you're going to see a boom here in 5 to 7 years. Once those start paying off, your income's just going to explode, because you're not going to have the underlying payment. Now the cash flow you're bringing in is going to be what, $50, $80, $100,000 a month, depending on where you get to. Now you can go buy 2 or 3 free and clear, and they just, every year buying another one off that cash flow. So you're going to hit this explosion point where I'm excited to see. Obviously I'm a little jealous here, and I'm impressed with what you're doing, because I know you're going to have some great success here coming. So, guys, can you give them a little bit of realistic expectation? Because I hear people all the time, they want to work 10 hours a week or whatever. They don't want to work on the weekends. And you just mentioned a lot on, mindset, work ethic, talking about Grant Cardone. You got to study all day long, listen to audios in your car, build your self-development, build your body. I know you're doing CrossFit, which I think is amazing. Tell them, yeah, guys, we'll get into later talk about that, but tell them kind of about how many hours a week do you work, and give them some expectation of what it kind of takes to be someone like you who can go do this.
I think of that book and the audio 3 Feet from Gold, that, it talks about the 2 miners, digging, and it seems like you give up. A lot of people give up right when they're on the cusp of success.
That's right.
And I'm bad to judge myself against others and their success, like young guys like you, and I'm thinking, man, Connor's killing it. And I don't even look at my success, which these whole other group of people think I'm ultra successful. So I think that's a thing that you shouldn't compare yourself to others as well, because we're all different. We all have different strengths. Yep. But when we started driving for dollars, as everybody pretty much knows, driving the neighborhoods, when Walter sent us out, I mean, we would go, and I was kind of working a part-time job, and my friend Carlene went with me, and she was a full-time CPA, and we would spend almost every Saturday driving, going looking at houses, vacant houses, and we mailed out letters. So at night I would sit at home and I would, address envelopes. If I was watching TV or sitting outside or something, I would stay busy. And then it broke. It's like we got a call, about a house, and a guy lived in California, and he had a house that, he only had one house and he couldn't keep it rented, and so he ended up we had a bad hailstorm, and he had insurance on the house, so he filed an insurance claim and got $3,000, and I think we paid him like $200 for that house. Yeah. $3,000 was our number, and so we turned around, and we didn't know any better. We just we were excited, so we turned around and sold it to another investor for $3,000. We probably could have got $5,000, but we were just like, oh, and I was like, what they say about I don't know about drugs, but like crack, got that check. Let's go do it again.
Focus.
I want to do this every week. So that was fun and exciting. And it kind of, you got to have a little reward. So that you can keep that carrot's out there in front and you keep chasing after that. But I think that you should devote a few hours a day. I think you should totally not watch television and not listen to stupid radio. And you should be filling your mind with positive things. And that's good not only for you, but for your family to do. I think our country would be better off if we spent more time on good positive things and channeling good information to our family and our children, and filling our brain with positive things instead of all the negativity that's in the world today. But I listen to most everything I can. I listen to Connor's video and podcast and everything he does when I'm driving. I listen to it when I'm driving and at night or in the mornings. I think it's really important to spend some time in the morning when it's quiet and to study and get your mind right for the day ahead.
Yeah.
But I think you do, until you get rolling pretty good, you need to devote a lot of time because it's beneficial for the rest of your life.
Yeah. So that's good information, guys, because people just see what you're doing on the outside and they see you when we're in public, and they, she's being acknowledged for the success at the present moment in the public's eye for the sacrifices that she's made behind the scenes. And, just to clarify, when she was talking about getting rewarded, rewarding yourself, she didn't mean go get crack. So guys, you go get a house. But, yeah,
in the form of a check.
That's funny because the last podcast guest, something similar to that came up on. So that's the second time we've had to talk about crack today, because we're talking about contractors doing crack, which is a good segment into some of the big headaches I'm sure you've had, as everybody does. When you buy a lot of houses, you're going to have to rehab a lot of houses, and you're going to have to deal with a lot of contractors. Give us your experience with some of the contractors. I know this is an interesting experience for you, trying to figure out this whole process, and just as it is for everybody, and it doesn't always go right. Do you have anything you want to talk about with the contractors that you've been working with?
Well, I in the beginning, I just felt, I was, I didn't have a lot of money to spend. And so I would try to find these guys that were not licensed, that were, a referral that somebody else gave me. I don't know why I took that, but so I wasted a lot of time and money, but it was all for me to learn valuable lessons. I try not to let any experience get by me without learning something to make myself and my world better. So I did just what I had to do. I would say if you are going to try to buy rental houses, I wish if you had a job, to save some money, and have some money in the bank, because it's Murphy's Law. If it can break, it's going to break. And, put in a new condenser. Sometimes you got to put window units in before you can buy that new condenser, that's $1,400 to have installed. So you got to be able to think on your feet, and you got to be able to think about plan Bs, and you got to be very resourceful. So I think if you don't have any construction experience, I would say if you're least bit handy, maybe try to, if you got an uncle or a cousin or somebody that does sheetrock or roofing, go work with them and kind of learn how they work and learn pricing. And I always ask people, why don't they go volunteer for Habitat for Humanity? Those people do have to pay their loans, and so you can provide some sweat equity and help a family, help them own their own home and learn some things, some skills for yourself. I've since moved to kind of more professional licensed contractors, not like a general contractor, but that's still not been the answer, because that's a whole different ballgame. And I know Connor's probably got, some podcasts and things specifically on that topic, but you do have to have some checks and balances, and you have to stay on top of people no matter if they're good, because they're usually just good the first job, maybe the second job. Yeah. The third and fourth job, not so much. So I think they take advantage of people. I know Connor's a nice guy, and I like to think of myself as a nice person, and I'm not very confrontational. Not very confrontational. And now, and my friend Rich Lennon and Kevin Straught would say, it's not, your world's not any different because you're a woman. Well, to a degree it is. I do know what I'm talking about because I have worked construction for a living. But I have to prove myself first, to get people's attention, to get guys' attention in the field. And once they know what I'm talking about, they don't try to pull anything over on me. Yeah. So I think you need to learn, and that whole thing going back to the mentor comes in, finding somebody that can, show you the ropes. And even if you have to pay somebody for a mentor, and I'm not talking about like big guys. If you find a local person who is successful, I think the key is that time is money, and money is time. So if you have to pay somebody to learn how to rehab a house or how to flip a house, you're saving yourself lots of time and a learning curve there.
Yeah, because it's like you're going to pay for it. You're either going to pay a bunch of money, tens of thousands of dollars for a mentor, or you're going to have to do what you did, which is work for them for free, or you're just going to have to go pay it with street justice. And regardless, you're still going to have X amount of street justice. Even if you get a good mentor, you're still going to have to pay your dues. And as far as contractors go, guys, the reason why a lot of people struggle as the projects go on, the first project they come in and they're on their best behavior, right? They want to make a good impression. So they give you a cheap bid and they do it as fast as possible because they're trying to earn your long-term business. The second project, they're still kind of, trying to be on their best behavior. And then they start letting themselves go and they start taking advantage. So it's kind of like when you start dating a new girl or vice versa, dating a new guy. All y'all have y'all's best persona up at the beginning, and then y'all start to get comfortable, and then all of a sudden it's pajamas and hoodies and letting yourself go a little bit. And then it kind of gets to a situation where the breakup happens, right? So you're just going to have to always get good with working with contractors, which is we're coming out with a podcast with Ron Carlson from Renovation Gurus. He was just on here. He is an amazing podcast, guys. He's absolutely killing it. They're doing sometimes up to 50 make-ready rehabs a month, right? So they're just pumping them out. They're probably going to be the biggest, if not already, arguably the biggest make-ready team here in DFW, which a make-ready team is basically a team of contractors. So you basically just call them and say, here's what I want done. Give them the checks, give them the keys, and say, tell me when my house is done. So that's a big way to avoid a lot of headaches that Cindy's talking about. But guys, you're always going to have trouble with contractors. Why? Because there's a human element, right? You're dealing with other people. And if you deal with other people enough, there's always going to be a misinterpretation of events. Even if both of y'all are honest, you're still going to come to butt heads eventually. And so that's just kind of how that goes. Last thing, let's talk about quickly. Do you have a property management company, or are you moving towards a property management company? Because eventually you're gonna hit this point where, I don't know if you already got it, but by the end of this year, you're gonna have well over 50 houses. You're gonna have a hard time managing. What's your plan with that?
Well, I tried doing the management for the first 10 or 12 or so, and then to try to keep finding deals, which I kind of really didn't answer that. We have some good wholesalers in our community, and so I've bought the houses I didn't find myself and negotiate. I did buy them from wholesalers, or leads that I got from my websites. I gave that lead to one of our local guys, and he made the deal. I paid him a fee. So that's how I got my houses. But I couldn't do all of that, and I've learned, being around smarter people than me, that I needed to delegate, what I either wasn't good at or I didn't have time for, or not my highest dollar talents. So I was fortunate to find a good property manager in Jackson, who is actually a woman, and she does a really good job. We actually have a good working relationship, and she saves my bacon all the time, because there's no way I could manage all those houses at all. I just couldn't do it. I'm not that good at it. I'm too nice. I'm soft. Tenants take advantage of me. And I would rather be, like finding more houses and negotiating deals. That's a higher dollar earning potential for me than managing tenants and toilets.
Yeah, Jim Ingersoll is real big about not being a solopreneur, but being an entrepreneur and a business owner. And a lot of people struggle, including myself when I was growing my business. Do I hire a CPA? Do I hire someone to do this? These other things that consume so much of our time. But then once you finally make that bridge and you say, okay, I'm going to go for it, and you hire that property manager, or you hire that individual to do your taxes and your paperwork, it frees up your time. And then you're like, okay, yes, it is worth it to go ahead and do this. And also, as far as hiring an employee, a lot of people wait too long probably to get an assistant or virtual assistants to kind of help them out. I don't know if you're using virtual assistants. I know you're big on your SEO, and your websites are ranking good. Driving for dollars works good. And, guys, even in my market, I'm still buying from wholesalers. We're closing on one that we bought from a wholesaler just the other day. And that's weird for people, because they know that I wholesale a lot of houses. But how, if I'm wholesaling houses, do I buy from wholesalers? Because, guys, they may not run the numbers right, or they may be in an area and you may see something different in that deal, or they may be marketing it to a rehabber and you're a buy and hold investor, and you may not put that much money into it, or you just know that you can do it a lot cheaper. So there's still deals out there. So go ahead, even if you're doing your own marketing, look at all these wholesale deals that come through, because a lot of times if their numbers are off $10,000-15,000 on the ARV and their numbers on the rehab are off $10,000, that's enough to make a deal, right? An extra $20,000 in there. If you got any last words of wisdom to give some of these new entrepreneurs, go ahead and let them know what Cindy Crane says about starting a business and doing what you got to do to grow it quickly. Because I know you're busy and got to get back to what you're doing, but go ahead and let them know, and then we'll give them a chance to get, or we'll give you a chance to get your contact information out there if anyone wants to work with you. And I know that we mentioned a little bit, you may be doing some possibly, right? I don't know. You can tell them turnkey rental properties for people outside in more expensive markets that want to get down into the Jackson market, but they need someone that's kind of got the boots on the ground. And I'm sure you can do that for them.
Yeah. I would say just if you think real estate's your thing and you want to be a real estate entrepreneur and live the kind of life that, that I'm not there yet. Connor's not there yet. We're always making ourselves better and getting where we want to go. But I think you just get started and you have to figure out your why. I know that's really important for people. I know that Connor wants to. I've listened to him enough. I know he wants us all to work together and to do change and make the world a better place by the things we can do with our time and our talent and our money. And so I think figuring out your why is really important. And I think you just move forward and you persevere, being persistent. That's the main thing. It's not quitting and offer yourself a value, what you can do to make somebody else's life. So Quincy likes to say, what do you need and how can I help you get it? And I think that's the key is to approach every situation coming from that place, a place of giving and offering value to people and not think about the money, right there that day, because all that will come where you want to go. Because, I wrote in my journal, and I think that's another important thing too. Last year I was like, I want to be an entrepreneur owning a real estate investor owning 25 houses, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, one day I woke up and I was like, oh crap, that happened. I didn't really believe it, but it happened, Yeah. So I just think have a positive mental attitude and train yourself and kind of distance yourself from the everyday world and do your own thing and concentrate on you and make yourself better. And the world around you will get better.
Yeah, guys.
And I think I probably I have some good contractor people, some good subs, and I think there's still a lot of opportunity to buy houses in Jackson. I have considered, I probably will, maybe look towards some turnkey, especially having the good property management in place. I think I could provide the whole package, at something that would allow people to have good cash flow and make money in Jackson. Change our community.
Yeah, guys. So link up with Cindy. We'll put her contact information below. But guys, what she says is important. Go ahead and set your goals. As y'all have heard over and over and over and over, people that get into self-development, successful people set goals, but then you go and set your own goals and you don't put them on pen and paper, and then you wonder why you're not hitting your goals. So she just told you how exciting it is when you don't think you're actually going to hit it. Then you have this goal and you get so caught up, you get so busy with what you're doing, and you're just trying to work forward and change your life. And all of a sudden you look back and you look at your goal list from a year ago and you're like, man, I hit like 16 out of 20 of these that I didn't think I was going to hit, right? And so it's an interesting thing because it's kind of, put it this way, the reason why we put goals is the same reason you put an address into your directions into your phone. So like if you don't put an address into your Maps.go or whatever, your digital map, whatever it comes up, how you get to a property, you're never going to get to that address if there's no address in there. You're never going to get directions, right? So you have to have goals. Those are your directions to where you're going. And so guys, Cindy's a big inspiration for a lot of people. And as she's talking about, the money's going to come if you work hard and you just keep going. And then after you have enough money, you kind of figure out, you got your life's basically situated under control. Now you get to decide what you're going to do with the rest of your life. What are you going to do? Are you just going to try to buy 4 Lamborghinis, 5 Lamborghinis, or what are you really going to do? There's only so much you can do. There's only so many toys you can buy. So then you have to decide, how am I going to help myself, my friends, my family, my community? And then if you really get successful, then it's how do I help the country? How do I help the world, right? So it scales up. And the more successful you are, the better you are to be able to help more people. So Cindy, I appreciate you coming on. Go ahead and throw out your number if you want. If not, we'll keep that quiet and we'll put whatever information you want us below. But I appreciate you coming on.
Sure. My phone number is 601-506-6649. Call me. Maybe you might have to text me. Kind of get a lot of phone calls every day, but I'm willing to help anybody who wants to help themselves. So, and I hope all of you come and hang out on the Financial Friends Network and get in the cruise mode. And I think Connor's doing an awesome job and providing lots of content. And he is the real deal. He is like, he's awesome guy. And
Thanks.
if you could be in his circle, I think that you will not go wrong. So follow Connor.
Appreciate those kind words, Cindy. Yeah, if y'all get on the Financial Friends Network, not only will you get to hang out with Cindy and I, but you'll get to see us on the beach, hang out with us, in Alaska or wherever we're going. So Walter and then put on those events, and it's a great way to interact and meet new people from around the country. And a lot of people have benefited from those events. So Cindy, guys, follow what Cindy's doing. She bought 30 houses last year. Really, 20 houses is all you really need to really get you to a point where you don't really have to work a job anymore. 20 good rental properties can basically put you financially free. So she was able to do that in a year. Don't have any more excuses. Get out there, work hard, chase down your goals, chase down your dreams, and be successful. Cindy, I appreciate you coming on.
Thanks, Connor.